What's up, Marla fans? Today we're getting the rear seat put into Marla for Cars and Coffee coming up. I've got a special guest coming into town, and I want to make sure I've got enough seating for everybody. So the V35 would not have originally come with any rear seat. There's a small caveat. I've seen a picture of one with like a weird little single jump seat in the back, sandwiched in with the radios. But you know, like I've said about Marla, this is not a restoration by any means, and I want to be able to take people with me at times. So I'm going to get this seat that I purchased. I believe is out of an M38A1. It's a pretty close match to whatever would have come in Jeeps at the time. They all kind of fit together. This one does look the part. It's got the steel ribs on the back here. You can kind of see them. Let's see if I get some light in there for you. You can see the little ribs along the back. I do feel like it sits a little bit higher than possibly a CJ3A seat, certainly than a CJ2A seat. Would have loved the folding of an M38 seat, but then you have to install a whole lot of hardware on the sides and things to get that to work. Whereas this one comes with feet. You can kind of see it. I get some light in there. The funny thing about the M38A1 is that the little feet are turned backwards. Of the 3A seats that I've seen, those little feet go forward. And they all would have slid underneath a small little metal strap across these front holes, or these front little divots here. And then the back has a clamp that fits in there, but Marla doesn't have any of that. And then indeed, I think probably the previous owner cut those off for some reason, or maybe they rusted out, or who knows what. But what I'm going to do is drill some holes, which I don't generally like doing to Marla, but I'm going to make an exception here. And I only really need to drill two technically. The rears seem to line up with the where the clamp would have been. You can see the knockout there. The old seats would have had a little like a little pin on the back leg, and it would have dropped right into that longer oblong hole there, and there would have been a clamp underneath mounted through some screw holes. So you can see that M38A1 seat is actually a little bit shorter from the look of it, but the holes line up. So I'm just going to bore that one out a little bit. I got some 3/8 hardware here. Grade 8 stuff, although I don't ever expect Marla to be doing much more than 40 miles an hour. And, you know, probably even slower than that. So I'm not too concerned about how the mounting is gonna go. But that's my plan. So hang in there, and if I have to, I'm going to probably bore those holes out just a little bit on the feet. And then I'll line everything up, measure it, and then hit it with a punch, and then I'll step through drilling. So hang in there as we kind of make this work, and like always, thanks for coming along. I did check underneath to make sure I wasn't going to run into anything with the drill bit. You can see the two holes there for the clamp that would have been placed there. Those are the bolt holes for it. I'm just going to widen out that first one there and come up to this one and punch it, and then drill a hole through there. I've got the seat flipped over here in the garage, and you can see I've got one of the bolts put through, and I'm just confirming with my Gorilla tool that these are 3/8 diameter, and they've grade 8 hardware all around. And I remember now that I actually went with this size because the hole on the seat leg is already that size. I don't have to drill anything extra or do any extra boring or anything like that. So the only real bulk of the work is going to be drilling into the tub. As always, safety first. Got my eye protection, got my drill all set up. I'm going to bore out that front hole there to get it ready, get the seat in, and then that's what I'm going to use to mark my hole up here in the front to be sure that I've got everything where I want it to be. And there we go. One hole is bored out. Let's check it quick. Looks good. So just to make things interesting, on the driver's side, there were a couple of bolts there in the holes for where the brackets would be for the clamp at the back here. Didn't have that problem on the passenger side, but yeah, that was fun trying to figure out how to get those out of there with this little square nut on the bottom. A testament to how small these Jeeps actually are, I was able to reach over with the screwdriver on this side while simultaneously underneath there with a wrench to get the bottom So able to reach into the bed in the back and underneath at the same time to get those off of there. But boy, that was fun. I don't think they're original, but who's to say? And they've got some of that red primer on them, so I don't know if that's factory red primer or if, you know, maybe when they painted this thing. They were covered in this rhino liner that I don't know. I'm on the fence about. But we got them out of there, so now I'm gonna drill out this front hole on this side. So here we go. Got my eye protection on. Alright, that one's done. So you can see I've got the bolt in on that side over there. And if you look over here, you can see that the bolt holes don't quite line up. But I know for a fact this leg is tweaked a little bit. So I'm going to take it out of here and hammer it just a smidge to massage that into place. And there you have it. Had to beat on it a little more than I thought I was going to have to. But you never know with these, you know, 60-year-old, 70-year-old things. You never know if you're going to hit them a little too hard and bust a weld or something. But, you know, this one came along pretty good. It ended up being pretty malleable, and that looks pretty close. So I think we're going to try to slide a bolt through there and see if we can't get it lined up nice. All right, was able to slide that one in. Other side's on there too, and not too bad. All right, now we're gonna get in there somehow. Probably, oh, I don't know, maybe some kind of marker. Make a mark and then hit it with a punch and do the same for the other side and drill them out. Alrighty, you can see my black mark there with a Sharpie. I'm gonna go ahead and punch that, and then I'm gonna drill a pilot hole and then move up to the larger 3/8 hole. So I'm gonna go roughly center of this mark. I'm pretty sure it's pretty close, and I can always kind of move the feet around a little bit, but that should be about center. Let's go right about there. Eye protection's making it hard to see. I think right about there will be good. Move my light just a little bit. And now my eye protection's on. Yeah, that's probably about as good as that's getting. I'm gonna go grab the drill. So I was gonna pilot that, but you know what? I'm feeling pretty confident, and famous last words probably, I know, but we're just gonna go for it. There we go. All right, that's one down. You can see that the rhino liner is kind of leaving some fringy edges. I don't really care for this stuff sometimes, but you know, I'll do with what I got. But seems we've got a pretty good fit there. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean this up a little bit, and then I'm gonna drop the seat in again and just make sure my other side is still looking pretty good. Pull those little fringes off. So yeah, looks pretty good. So I dropped the seat in and took a look at where this mark was, and it looks pretty good with everything you know, in there, finger tight. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on this one, do the same thing as I did on the other side, hit it with the punch, and then just go right in. I might bias just a little bit on the inside. You can see the center line is kind of a little bit offset, but you know, I can always move the foot around a little bit with a hammer if need be. So I'm gonna come in just a little bit of center on this one. So I've got good punch there, feeling pretty confident. I'm gonna come in with the bit. You know, it occurred to me that I did forget to add a little bit of cutting oil here, and for the life of me I cannot remember where on earth I left my cutting oil. But gear oil is pretty good, right? Nothing like the smell of burning gear oil. Anyways, there we have it. We've got our fourth and final hole. And I'm going to clean this up a little bit and then go about fitting on the little, fitting in the bolts and whatnot. I'll clean up underneath as well. I'll go down there with a file or a chisel and take the little burrs off the bottom. There it is. That last one went in so easy, it feels like something else is going to go wrong, because nothing should ever work that easy. We hit it as exact as we could be. It went right in there, like slid in like nothing. So that's all the bolts are in, that's it. The one thing I'm going to do now is come on down and stick a washer, then a lock washer, and a nut on the bottom. I'm kind of on the fence about which way these should mount. Some part of me says maybe put the nut up here, and then you have an easier way of visually inspecting if it's coming loose. But some other part of me says if you lose the nut on the bottom there, it's going to happen anyways, and now at least you've got the bolt sticking around to keep it in. But you can let me know in the comments what you think is probably the best way. For now, I'm just going to mount it up just like this. Well, I don't know why, but something told me to have them come up this way and put the nut on the inside, or, you know, air quotes, inside the Jeep. That way I can always come around and visually inspect them and see, you know, if they're backing off or something. And it gives me a little bit of a cleaner look. Not that that's important, really, but just a little cleaner on the inside, or the underside, rather. So I'm going to tighten these down. I'm going to use a little bit of the old mechanical advantage. I'm going to put a wrench on this side and put it up against either the leg or the fender. And then I'm going to go underneath with the ratchet and tighten it down. All right, well, that's it. They're in, they're tight. All of the lock washers have engaged fully. Boy, that thing is just one with the Jeep now. That's it. Back seat's in. Someday I'll figure out, you know, someone who can upholster that to make it look more like the front seats with that duck cloth. And, you know, eventually maybe paint something so they match, maybe. So this, I don't know, you can't tell, but that's black back there. And the seats are the same green as the rest of the Jeep, so. Yeah, that's it for the project. Marla has her back seat now. You know, one of these days, maybe I'll come up with like a quick release system or something. But this'll do quite well for now. All right, thanks everybody for watching. That's it for tonight.